Part 1. The day after, everything went quiet. Extended version. On the day of my retirement, I wore a suit just a bit sharper than usual, a crisp white shirt I hadn't worn since my first day at the company, and polished shoes that gleamed. It felt like I was heading off to perform a quiet little ritual. I remember the sky being strangely clear that day, almost like the world was offering one last beautiful view, just before a door quietly closed behind me. When I arrived at the office, everything looked the same. Junior colleagues smiled and greeted me in the hallway. On my desk was a small bouquet and handwritten cards from my team. The ceremony was short. A brief farewell from the CEO, a half-hearted joke from my team lead, and a round of clapping from my co-workers. "You've done so well. Now it's time to focus on your health. Don't worry about anything, just rest." I knew they meant it. I really did. But somehow their words didn't quite reach me. They sounded distant, like echoes from behind glass. After the event, I packed up. A coffee mug I'd used for years, my old pencil holder, and a faded family photo tucked deep inside my drawer. I hadn't looked at that picture in a long time, and for some reason it felt strangely unfamiliar now. As I walked out of the office for the last time, I turned back for a moment. The place where I had spent over 30 years suddenly looked small. Too small to hold all the time I had given it. On the walk to the subway, I passed my favorite snack shop. I thought, I'll probably never come here again. That night, when I walked through the front door at home, my wife smiled and said, "You can finally rest. You've worked so hard." I smiled back and nodded, but inside I was thinking, is this really rest? What am I supposed to do now? The next morning, I woke up naturally, earlier than usual, something 30 a.m. My body still expected the alarm to go off, but of course it didn't. There was no reason for it to ring anymore. I drank water from the fridge, made some coffee, put on my track pants instead of a suit, and sat quietly in front of the window. For the first time in a very long while, I faced a day where I truly had nothing to do. At first it felt good. For the first 2 days, I enjoyed not rushing, not being pulled along by the clock, but that freedom faded faster than I expected. By the 4th day, I found myself standing in front of the mirror, asking quietly, what am I supposed to do now? Without my morning routine, my entire day lost structure. I began to feel like I was shrinking, and the silence, that was the strangest part. There were more and more days when I didn't speak a single word, not because I was avoiding anyone. There was simply no one to talk to. My wife was still busy. My children were wrapped up in their own lives, and the only sound in the house came from the TV. At first it felt peaceful, but eventually it felt lonely. Some days I would go to bed, realizing I hadn't spoken to another human all day. And every time I looked in the mirror, I found myself wondering, am I really living right now? Or am I just existing? That question stuck with me. I never realized how big the gap could be between being alive and truly living. Since that day, it feels like a quiet wall inside me has been slowly, quietly falling apart. Part 2, the empty space I didn't expect. The next morning, I woke up early, even without an alarm. I sat at the table, coffee in hand, staring into nothing. It was the first time I had a whole day with nothing to do. The first few days felt like freedom, but soon the silence became louder. My days lost structure. I wasn't speaking much. No one was calling. The house was quiet, too quiet. I looked in the mirror and wondered, am I living or just existing? I had no plan. I thought my savings and family would be enough, but I hadn't asked the most important question. How will I actually live after retirement? Part 3. So much time, nothing to do. One morning I wrote, things I want to do, but I stared at the page blank. Eventually I wrote exercise, read, watch a movie, but when I tried to do them I felt nothing. The days were long, the silence heavy. I visited a local center to ask about jobs or volunteering, but they asked if I was healthy enough, if I had skills. For the first time, my past career felt useless. I volunteered, but even then, I doubted myself. I walked home with my head down. I didn't want people to see me. I felt like I was shrinking. Part 4. It wasn't just time I lost. One day, I saw a bank alert utility bills, phone bills, credit card payments. It felt heavier than before. My severance was nearly gone, weddings, deposits, daily life. I began calculating every expense. First, I cut dining out, then hobbies, then even doctor visits. I told myself, it's okay. But deep down, I wasn't sure if I was okay. Worse than losing money was losing people. No more lunch invitations. No more weekend calls. Photos appeared in group chats, but I wasn't in them. I called an old friend. He was too busy. That next time never came. Even my son asked, "What are you doing these days?" I couldn't answer. I wasn't living. I was fading. Part 5, I thought it was just me. At first, I thought I was alone in this. Then a friend, retired like Ma said, "Doing nothing makes me feel like I'm disappearing." We weren't alone. Stats say 6 in 10 retirees feel depressed. 3.8 years average income gap before pension. Marital conflict triples post-retirement. No one tells you this. Retirement isn't the end. It's the begin, it's not too late. One day I saw a flyer. Free smartphone basics, adults 50. I hesitated. What's the point now? But I signed up. In that little classroom, I found people like me. We laughed, learned, connected. I had a reason to wake up, a reason to talk, a reason to feel human again. Learning gave me back more than skills. It gave me back life. Part 7, I'm no longer just passing time. I'm living. Extended version. These days, I volunteer twice a week at the local library. I read stories to children. Their giggles, their questions, the way they look up at me with wide eyes. They give me something I hadn't felt in a long time, belonging. I also started a blog. It's not fancy. Just a space where I share old work stories, thoughts on life, little lessons. Sometimes someone leaves a comment. That one comment? It makes my entire day feel meaningful. My wife and I go on walks more often now. Grocery shopping has become our mini dates. We take our time. We talk. We laugh. I still worry sometimes. I'm not rich. My health isn't perfect. I don't have it all figured out. But one thing I can say for sure is, I'm not just surviving anymore. I'm living. Retirement taught me something I wish I'd learned sooner. You don't stop growing just because you stop working. You just need to plant yourself in new soil. And now, finally, I'm beginning to bloom again. Epilogue, your time still matters. If you've made it to the end of this video, I want to say something from the bottom of my heart. Maybe you're approaching retirement. Maybe you've already stepped into it and feel a little lost. If anything in this story resonated with you, even a little, please remember this. It's not too late to begin again. Your time still matters. In fact, maybe this is the beginning of your true time. Retirement isn't a period at the end of a sentence. It's the start of a whole new paragraph. Today's self-check. Before you close this video, take just a moment and ask yourself, am I truly in charge of my own life right now? Do I have a clear idea of what I want after retirement? Is there at least one moment in the day I look forward to? Among health, income, and relationships, where do I feel most vulnerable? What's one thing I can give myself in the next stage of life? If you can answer even one of these questions, you've already begun again. Thank you for staying with me until the very end. If any part of this story felt like a reflection of your own, then maybe this moment right now is the first day of your next chapter. Liking and subscribing might seem small, but it could become one of your kindest habits for your future self. Thank you, and from the bottom of my heart, I'm cheering for your second act.